a little bit different. How many of you are familiar with me or in the news in some capacity? Okay, wow, thank you. So usually, when you hear me speak, I talk about Twitter or Facebook or social strategy, which is really my wheelhouse. That's what I live and breathe and love. But today I'm going to talk a little bit more about women in leadership. And I have to say, that opening message that Todd gave when he talked about the butterfly effect, it really kind of gave me chills. Because when I wrote that article about women in leadership, I guess that was back in August or so, it was something that was on my heart, it was something that I was really passionate about, and I put it out there. And so you can probably relate to this. You put something out there, and you just hope that someone reads it, you hope that it touches somebody. And I'm just, so thrilled that Susie reached out to me. And I walk in this room, and I just see all these amazing women and men who are here today. And it really, really touched me. So thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. So I want to start off with a little bit about my story. Because, it's funny, a lot of times, like I said, I'll get in front of people and talk a lot about different things and social strategy. But some of you may not really sort of know my backstory, so I'd love to share that with you right now. So I've been in marketing and branding for about 15 years, and really social, probably the last 7, which is social media, that's sort of a lifetime, right? My start in real estate came in 2005. I was the marketing director at a brokerage up in the San Francisco Bay Area, Empire Realty, and had the privilege of being their marketing director for 4 years, really working belly to belly, face to face with many real estate agents, doing just about anything under the sun when it came to marketing. And just as a show of hands, how many of you are real estate agents in the room? Okay, probably the majority. So I've done everything from listing presentations to postcards to social media, marketing, everything, listing presentations under the sun. And it was really a great opportunity to work face to face with agents. I was sharing in the car today with John as he drove me to this wonderful event, how much I appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit of a real estate agent. You guys work harder than probably anybody else I know, right? It's definitely not a 9-to-5 job. And I will say though, after some time of working at Empire, and some of you will probably get a kick out of this, many times working with real estate agents, it's a little bit like herding cats. No offense. Go back in the middle, you can relate to this. And I do love working with real estate agents, but I felt like in about 2009, it was time for me to take my next step, to be brave, and to see what else was out there. It was about that time I saw a tweet from In the News saying that they were looking for a marketing person. It was something along the lines of this, something along the lines of looking for someone who could crush it. At the time, I just read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It, and I'm like, I can do that, that's me. Call me up. So I tweeted him back. Interviews back and forth, long story short, I came to work for In the News. So I was their social media director, and actually before I became their social media director, they hired me to be their marketing person. So again, everything marketing under the sun. It became very clear that social was really in my blood, that it was really what I was passionate about. And so quickly became their social media director and was able to really accomplish some exciting things. As Todd mentioned, the ambassador program that I grew it. And then when I started In the News had about 5,000 fans and followers, and now today we're at over 300,000 fans, followers, friends, likes. And so it's something I'm really, really proud of. I've been able to speak on many stages, in many different groups, many different organizations. But that's my family as well. So that was pumpkin hunting, I guess, pumpkin patch hunting. A few weeks ago. So, like many of you, and as I heard Veronica and I heard Michelle and Mona kind of share your stories, obviously we're not just women who work, we're not just successful women, and all of us have our own stories of success. But many of you in the room have family in one sense or the other, whether it's kids or your dogs or your grandkids or extended family. And so, sometimes having family and having that work-life balance, I want to know that there is actually such a thing as work-life balance. It can be a little challenging. This is a picture of my new office, and the story leads me to where I am today. So, for some time now, I've been working through In the News and really kind of thinking of what was my next step. And if you've ever been in that spot where you kind of think, I think it's time for that next and move. That's where I've been. And so literally a month ago today, today's my 1 month anniversary, I started my own consulting firm. All that up on the stage and I'm not feeling as confident. So I started my own social media consulting firm. This is my home office. It's my red office. It's red because it's one of my favorite colors. It's a power color. I love going in there every single day. And it's really an exciting opportunity for me. And personally, I feel like I have the best of both worlds. I'm still working with Inman News. Inman is one of my clients. And I also have been working with other clients as well. And really helping small, medium, large-sized businesses with their social strategy. So I share all of that. There's my Facebook page. I share all that because I feel like a lot of us are on that same trajectory of figuring out where we want to go, where's our success, what's the next step, how does family fit into all this. This is the article that I wrote back in August. And like I said, the reason why I wrote this article, I had just come off of Real Estate Connect. Have any of you been at Real Estate Connect before? Do you? So, Real Estate Connect is really the big event that Inman News does every year. It's sort of like their Super Bowl, right? 3 full days, and I helped co-MC and was a presenter during that event. And after that event, I can't tell you how many women came up to me and said, "Kate, so we're just on stage, you're the next generation, you're such a role model." And I remember thinking, I don't really feel like a role model. And this is a quote from my article. I don't feel like a role model. Most days I feel like an exhausted mom of 2 little boys who's just trying to do the best that she can do for her family and herself each and every day. Right? And I see a lot of you nodding your head. Because I think we can all relate to that in some ways. Those are my 2 boys. That's Luke, 2-year-old. That's Owen, 5-year-old. With an iPhone, by the way. That's not their own iPhone. Let me just say that. It is quite funny to see them interact with technology. Those of you who have kids can probably relate. All my kids know nothing. Don't know, what life is like before the iPhone, the iPad. And they'll go up to the TV screen and try to, like that. Don't try to understand that, sweetie. Not every screen works like the wonderful iPad does. So I do a lot of traveling for what I do. In the last 18 months, I've traveled over 100,000 miles. I've got lots of frequent flyer miles. I've spoken in over 50 cities. But at the end of the day, we do the best that we can do, right? That's all we can do for ourselves, for our family, for our kids. I want to share a little story here. So a few weeks ago, I was in Boston for Agent Reboot Boston. And again, another story I'm sharing with John. It's John a little longer. And flew to Boston. And now, for those of you who know me, know that when I fly to a city, I usually fly in and fly out. Today is a great example. Yesterday was Halloween, I came in today and fly out right afterwards. And a lot of times it's because of my family. So a few weeks ago I was in Boston, and I got into Boston late. I was in a cab, it was about 8 o'clock p.m. I was in a cab on the way to the Tweetup. Every night before each week we do a Tweetup. So I was on the way to the Tweetup, and my phone rings. And I look down, and it's my son's preschool. Now, you know that the preschool never calls just to say, "Hey, how's it going?" No. So I have a moment of, okay, pick up the phone. "Hi, Jerry." "Hi, Katie. It's Jerry from Little Preschool. I don't want you to worry, but Luke fell off the tricycle, and I think he broke his arm. Can you come pick him up right now?" And I'm in Boston. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I felt pretty awful. Called my husband, since the next hour, everyone's having fun at the bar, and I'm like outside on the phone with Kaiser, my husband, and what's going on? Hearing about my parents. About an hour or 2 later, my husband sends me this photo. That's Luke. I call it Lukey. Happy as a clam, is a cast, broken in 2 places. Now, everywhere we go, by the way, I get sort of these looks like, what happened to him? But he's fine. He's fine. He's getting the cast off very shortly. But this is how I felt. It's like, how can I justify this? I'm flying around, I'm speaking, and doing this and doing that, but I'm also a mom of 2 little kids. guilt now and then? Yes, absolutely. I think probably any of us do who have family and other responsibilities besides just business. That is not me. I'm glad a lot of you agree. So, if you touched on this, you spoke earlier, Veronica mentioned this, and a few other people as well, and that is, and we all have sort of our place in life, and our passion, and where we're supposed to be. Michelle touched on this too. And, for me, I can't cook. That's a good example. If I didn't have a husband who would cook for me, I don't know what I would do. So bless his heart, and in fact, he also takes care of my kids when we're out and about. But, finding your passion, finding what you're good at and what you're not good at as well is very important. For myself, I have a number of roles. And I'm sure the list is a little bit longer than that. Those are some of the big roles in life. Wife, daughter, CEO, friend, business owner, sister, mom. I don't know about some of you, but I feel like a lot of times there's these plates that we're spinning, right? The mom plate, the sister plate, the daughter plate, the business owner, the wife, the friend. And usually if you're spinning a couple plates really, really well, these little plates aren't doing very well, right? And so how do we find that balance? Well, I think a lot of when we talk about the balance of our lives, I look at the next generation. And I look at this generation of 20, 30, 40-something-year-olds that are sort of coming up through the ranks in real estate as well as in other industries, and will be the next generation that becomes the leaders, the CEOs, the VPs, the CMOs, and many of those people are already in those positions. I want to talk a little bit about stats. Veronica touched on some really interesting statistics earlier about women in real estate. In real estate, 55% of the people in real estate are women. But why isn't that translating to more women moving up in the ranks into leadership positions? And we've already touched on some great things today, and I'm going to share with you some more interesting statistics and really ways that I feel for myself personally that I've been able to sort of move up through the ranks, and I hope to inspire some of you as well. When we talk about Fortune 500 companies, it's amazing the statistics. 56 of the Fortune 500 companies have 0 women on their boards. 18 of the Fortune 500 companies have women CEOs, which is up from 12 the year before. And I talk about this a lot of times with my husband, who's a great sounding board. And he was joking with me the other night. He said, well, what's the big deal? I'm like, oh, we didn't go there, right? Big deal. And for me, and I think a lot of you can relate to this, is that when you have so few women leaders, whether it's in real estate or other companies, other positions, other industries, they're just not part of the conversation. Think of the conversations and the things that are important to women. If there's only one or none who are on these boards or leadership positions, we're really missing out in those conversations and those key decisions. The U.S. Senate, there's some pretty staggering numbers of the U.S. Senate. There have been 39 women in the U.S. Senate since the establishment in 1789. It's just awful. As of 2012, there are 17 women senators right now. And regardless of how you stand politically, I know election day is coming up. It's something to really think about in terms of our leadership and who's representing us. Some other interesting statistics. 56% of women, among individuals holding professional jobs in the U.S., 56 are women. 56% are women, not just 56 women. 56%. In terms of social media, 55% of Twitter users are women. 55% of Facebook users are women. Kind of throws some social media stuff there, right? Some more Fortune 500 statistics. The average return on equity increased by at least 53% when women were a part of the organization. Return on sales by 42%. Return on capital investment by at least 66% when there were women involved, at least 3 women as directors in an organization. So why is the still industry predominantly run at the top by men? And how can we change this? So I think one of the first things that we can do is raise our hand and say, I can do that. I want to be chosen. I can be on that leadership team. I would like to be the branch manager. I would like to do this. But how many women don't do that? Now, I know a lot of you probably are those women who raise your hand. You wouldn't be here today if you weren't. But I know from personal experience, and I know probably a lot of you can relate to this too, I can think right now, off the top of my head, at least a handful of close women friends that don't raise their hand. That say, well, if I'm good enough, they'll pick me. I don't need to ask for a raise. I've been here for 2 years. They know that. No, they don't. You need to remind them. They need to raise their hand. And I really think in not just real estate, but in so many industries, why there aren't more women at the top is because they're not raising their hand. To say, I can do that. Hey, I'm here. Talk to me. And putting themselves out there. And you look at sort of the fundamental differences many times, not always, I know I'm making some stereotypes here, but many times between men and women, many times men are not afraid to say, I can do that. Right? Yeah, right here, right here. I think it was Veronica who said something about how men will take the credit for the smallest thing. Anything, right? And I literally laughed out loud because I could totally relate. No offense, it is a metaphor. Poor Dylan, right here. Thank you for coming today, sir. The other thing I think is important, and we had a few references to Sheryl Sandberg earlier, and I'm going to reference her as well. Sheryl Sandberg is the COO of Facebook, someone I look to as a mentor, someone that I really look up to at some of the things that she's done. And one of the things she talks about is sit at the table. Sit at the table physically, there's really a table to that, but also figuratively, meaning be a part of that conversation. Don't be afraid to raise your hand. To say, I can do this, I can be a part of that. Be a part of the conversation. So many times I'm in meetings, and ladies, I'm sure you can relate to this. I'm in meetings, and there might be 8 people in that meeting. 6 of them are men, and the 2 women hardly say anything because they're afraid of interrupting. They're so polite. And I am so guilty of this. I look around, and there's some of you I know personally who will probably know this. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to make somebody mad. But sitting at the table, not being afraid to just interrupt a little bit, right? Because sometimes the guys aren't afraid to interrupt. Right? Research indicates that 3 or more women on corporate boards has a positive effect on a company's bottom line, as much as 42%. 42%. This is a screenshot from Sheryl's TED Talk. If you haven't seen Sheryl Sandberg's TED Talk, Google it. That's your homework. I've probably seen it 50 times. It's very motivational, very inspirational. It's a lot of what we're talking about today. The Sheryl Sandberg TED, T-E-D. If you haven't seen TED Talks, by the way, that's one of the message. Have you watched TED Talks? I love it. Okay, if you don't watch TED Talks, we talk about feeding the soul. If you talk about feeding the soul, TED Talks are a fantastic way to do that. Sheryl talks about don't leave before you leave. I love this. Don't leave before you leave. This really speaks to a lot of younger women, and I can really relate to this. There's a lot of women in their 20s and 30s who think, well, I'm going to have kids one day, and so I want to have a job where it allows me this kind of flexibility, or this kind of balance, or this or that. And so many women are thinking like 5 years, 10 years, way down the line before things have even happened. Right? Maybe they don't even have a boyfriend yet, or a partner, and they're already thinking ahead. Don't leave before you leave. And this really resonated with me recently because when I took that leap of faith to not be employed in the news, one of the most prestigious, biggest entities in real estate, and start my own business. One of the reasons I was confident in that is because the whole time I was in there, I was in 150%. I was in. I had kids and family and all these other responsibilities, but I was totally in. And so that gave me the opportunity to have a choice. So when the time came for me to say, I'm going to start my own business because I want to be home more, I want to have flexibility, I want to work with some other exciting brands, I had that choice because I didn't leave before I left. That make sense? Such a huge lesson for me. Hustle. I have this up in my right office. This is a quote. I can't read all of it because it really is big. It's the most important word is right in the middle there. It's hustle. This is also from Gary Vee. Again, another guy to Google. If you don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, Google Gary Vaynerchuk. He does swear a lot, so just a heads up on any of the videos. So very inspirational, written a number of great books. And he talks a lot about hustle. I totally believe in this. And anything in the room who've had success, I'm sure you can relate to this. Isn't it all about the hustle? Right? It's all about just making it happen. Yeah, some people are lucky and you meet the right people, but really at the end of the day, it's just about working really freaking hard. above and beyond. Are you negotiating for yourself? This is another thing. It kind of goes back to raising your hand, to sitting at the table. Again, so many people I see don't negotiate for themselves. So many women do. Now, again, a lot of you probably do this because you're here. But if you're somebody who doesn't, think about it, and I really encourage you to negotiate for yourself, especially in the workplace, especially in the real estate industry. There's some interesting things that have kind of come out in the news lately I want to share with you. This actually just came out a couple days ago. Want equal pay. Many women still not speaking up when it comes to salary. You know, there's this whole sort of divide between what women make, what men make, and it's sort of, big conversation. And I really believe that many times a woman doesn't make what a man makes. Now, there's all different theories behind this. My own personal opinion is because of where they start. A lot of women, when they get a new job, start low. And they're negotiating their salary, and they don't really negotiate. They sort of take whatever's offered, or they might ask a little bit higher, but they're many times afraid to ask, for 20,000 more, or really put it out there. Whereas again, many times a man, not to be stereotypical, but a will many times ask for that. And so when you start off low, right, how hard is it to get to that higher level that you want to get at? And this is cut off here, but I'll read this here. Studies have found that young women have lower salary expectations than their male peers. Economists call this the negotiating divide. And I think a lot of times it is our DNA. We don't want to ruffle each other, we don't want to rock the boat, we want to keep it mad. Men tend to be overconfident and boast about their ability, and women in general tend to be a little bit more shy about it, a little bit more reserved. Again, if you start low, it's pretty hard to catch up, right? And sometimes women are our worst enemies. Wouldn't you agree? And sometimes we are. Can't we just be really chatty sometimes? Look at what she's wearing. This is so-and-so. We're all guilty of it. Me, myself, and I included. I look at some of the things in the media. Marissa Meyer's in the media a lot. She's the CEO, youngest CEO, a gal who was 37 years old. In the weeks that followed her getting promoted to CEO, almost every single article I read about Marissa Meyer was the fact that she was pregnant. Right? How many male CEOs at some point had pregnant women? Pregnant wives or spouses, right? Again, you don't hear about it a whole lot because the focus was on her and having a baby versus her mind, her skills, her attributes, her leadership abilities. This is controversial. Newsstand post that came out, a newsstand article that came out a few months ago about women breastfeeding. And you might look at that in regards to how you feel about breastfeeding. It's pretty eye-opening, right? And really, when you kind of dig into the undercurrent of it, it really helps to kind of foster women battling each other, and going, well, I think this, and I think this, and working, arguing with each other versus really working together. There's a lot of stuff in the media. Here's a good example, too. Hillary Clinton, again, regardless of how you feel politically, I can't tell you in the last, 10 or 12 years how many times I've seen an article about Hillary and her pantsuits, or her hair, or has she gained weight, or she lost weight, right? Who cares? Right? And there's so many things in the media. Another good example of, things in the media. There's a great movie out. I really recommend that you check this out. Misrepresentation. Have you seen this? No, not yet. Okay, you need to Google this. Lots of homework here. Misrepresentation. This is a documentary that came out not too long ago, probably a few months ago. It was produced by Jennifer Newsom, Gavin Newsom's wife. Gavin Newsom is a former mayor of San Francisco. And she really talks about women in the media. And if some of the stuff that I just talked about Time Magazine and Marissa Meyer, some of these things kind of resonate with you, I really encourage you to check it out. It's really incredible. Some of the things you women think about in terms of how the media portrays women. And I really encourage men and women to check out this film. I made my husband watch it. I sit down, you gotta see this. And it was very eye-opening as well. So I encourage you to check it out. It really says a lot, especially when we talk about women in leadership positions. The other thing that's really important, I think it's vitally important as women, is to surround ourselves with people who support and uplift and encourage each other. It's really, really important. I'm a part of a Facebook group called the Power Women. I think some of you are some of my Power Women in here. And we have a public group, and we also have a private group, but the public group has about 300 or so people in it. And it was started by my friend Deborah Traven up in the Seattle area, with the whole purpose to engage, to empower, and to engage, elevate, and empower. And what you'll see in that group, you'll see, women really lifting each other up, saying, hey, did you see so-and-so on their new website? Did you see so-and-so on their new listing they just got? Did you see so-and-so, they just got this promotion? And there's a lot of that in this group, which is just so important. Everyone wants to get recognized, but no one wants to say, hey, look at me, I just did this. Right? We don't always want to raise our hand. So being a part of a group where women recognize each other, there's some really fantastic things we're discussing. And a lot of what I talk about today, some of these articles and things in the media and interesting statistics, this is a lot of the stuff that we talk about in that group. Now, out of that group, we have sort of a little offshoot, we have a little private group, a little secret group. And there's 9 of us that are in this sort of secret Power Women group. And these are my girls. And these are women that I never had met in person until probably pretty recently. Met them all through social media at some point or another, through my travels and things that I've done. But these women are really women that I relate to. We can talk about things personally, professionally. It's really a group of trust. And I really encourage you, if you're not part of a small group of women, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's colleagues, to really think about organizing. And Facebook is really a great avenue for that. You can create, obviously, these big Facebook pages and big, massive groups, but sometimes some of the magic happens when you just get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 women in a small group. And you might go, well, I could just call them. Well, I could just text them. I could just send them an email. But there's something about being in a kind of small private group on Facebook, especially if you're on Facebook a lot. You can just pop in there, leave a message, hey, this is what's going on, pray for me, I have this going on, whatever the case may be. We also use technology to connect with each other. So my small private Power Women group, we use an app called Voxer. Anybody use Voxer? It's a very cool app. So Voxer is like a walkie-talkie app. It's on the iPhone, it's on the Android. And basically the way it works is you can send voice messages to one person, like I said, a voice message to Mona, so back to me, or I can set up a group. And so with my Power Women group, we have 9 women who are on this Voxer message. And so with the push of a button, it's kind of like the old Nextel, the beep beep. Those? Beep beep. You click the beep beep and you go, hey everybody, whatever, I'm an airtime, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing great, what's going on with everybody today? And there's sort of this whole string of conversations that happen. It's literally quick little voice messages back and forth. Again, you might think, well, there's voicemail, I could just call them. Yes, we do have a phone too. But with Voxer, it's an easy way to just sort of catch up on what's going on. Get some little photos, private, and there's something about just hearing someone's voice. In this day and age of technology, wouldn't you agree? There's just something about hearing someone's voice and leaving a quick message. So, great little technology to check out if you haven't checked it out already. Do we really go for what we want? I kind of touched on this in a lot of things I talked about. Many times we don't. And for one reason or the other. Do you? Something to think about, right? I have another story to share. So, anybody a fan of Oprah? Yeah. If you're not, then you will be after this story. So, I'm a really big Oprah fan. I'm sort of like a super fan. I'm not a stalker or anything, but I'm a big fan of Oprah. Okay. And I've been trying, this is back when Oprah had her show, I've been trying to get tickets to the Oprah show literally for 10 years. Emailing and, submitting requests and all that kind of stuff. And I remember chatting with a former colleague of mine and about sort of my little Oprah goal, my bucket list. And one day I'm going to go to the Oprah show. And she said, well, hey, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and start a social media campaign around it? I was like, oh, I don't know about that. She said, no, really, think about it. We talk about social media all the time with how Twitter, Facebook, and video. Think about it. And I thought about it. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. When something's on your bucket list, it's always one of those like, well, one day I'm going to do this. I'd really like to do this one day. And then all of a sudden, for me, this whole Oprah thing And 24 days later, I got not one, but 2 calls from Harpo with an offer for tickets to the show. So I share that story because, like I said, putting yourself out there and saying, I'm going to go for this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stop saying, well, one day I'm going to do this, and really just make it happen. And for me, that was my Oprah moment. And I think now I hit some of the other things on my bucket list. I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next? Because life is short, right? When you think about everything that's happening on the East Coast right now, and all these people who are out of power and their homes are destroyed, and oh my gosh, life is short, right? We're not promised anything beyond right now, right here. So, 24 days later, received that call. Like I said, received 2 calls. I'll tell you real quick what those 2 calls were. The first call was a call from one of the producers. Because one of the ways one of the many ways I had got in contact with the show was sent them an email about me and my best friend. They were doing a best friend show with Oprah and Gail. And they wanted stories of best friends, so I wrote in about my best friend. And so that was the first call. And the second call was literally the next day from the assistant to the president at Harpo saying, I heard about what you're doing through Brad Inman. Brad had been the president, who had known somebody else, and long story short, my whole story got back to him. So, very exciting. So fast forward to the show. There's me. And Oprah, I'm so excited. There's me and my best friend, Lori. That's me in the audience. Yes, it's still on my PPR. Here I am. There's Gail. It was really awesome to be a part of that, especially with Oprah Winfrey. And say what you will, people like her, people don't like her, but what she's done for women in leadership is pretty amazing. Thank you. She has really, truly raised the bar in terms of women and the things she's done for education and literacy, professionally, personally. Now, that's not where the story ends. So, many of you know, Oprah is sort of known for giving away things, right? So it's like icing on the cake. I'm sitting in the audience with the Oprah audience, and she announces, you're all getting up! Blah, 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 blah. And none of us hear anything. All you hear is screaming women, or screaming in the audience. Literally jumping up and down saying, what have you been? I don't know. It's pretty funny. She goes to commercial break and goes, I don't think any of you know what I just gave you, right? No. What she gave was a trip to Mirabal. I'm sure a lot of you know, it's here in Arizona and Tucson. It's a 3-day, 2-night, amazing resort, world-renowned. All the celebrities go there. Trip to Mirabal with your best friend. So it was a really fantastic time to engage, to reinvigorate myself, turn the phone off, totally disconnected, which for me is very challenging. I'm always connected to my phone. And in Mirabal, you can do things like this. I did not do that. I slept a lot. This was the most fantastic day ever. We did a lot of this. A lot of rest and relaxation, a lot of R&R. It was a wonderful experience. And on the last day, there was a little quote on all of our pillows. And this is the quote from the last day. It said, you can change your brain, you can change your body, you can even change the energy in your heart. Get out of your own way, don't take yourself too seriously. Be relentless in your quest for growth. Now this is a tweet from my husband. A text from my husband, I should say, as I was getting to Mirabal. He said, now listen, no tweeting, no blogging, no work. And it was a good reminder to me to really tune out and to tune in to my experience at Mirabal. It's a fabulous experience. So I started off this conversation talking a little bit about balance. And I really don't believe there is any perfect work-life balance. There's work, there's life, and there's kind of everything in between. And this is really my life. These are my boys. My husband, I think, took that picture. That's why he's got the picture. There's me, doing what I do. So I ask you, what's on your bucket list? I know we all have one, right? There's got to be something. Are you just waiting for things to happen, or are you committed to making things happen? wrap up here, in 2013, my vision is to see more women at the top, joining that conversation, figuring out the whole balance thing, whatever that may be, crossing off things on their bucket list. My question is, will you be there?